Have you ever stopped to think about how time works? I mean, really think about it. We all live by the clock, wake up at 7, work by 9, lunch at 12, and so on. But what if I told you that not everyone sees time the same way? That for some cultures, time isn't a straight line but a circle, or even something more fluid like water? Sounds fascinating, right? Well, today we're diving into the concept of time across different cultures. By the end of this video, you'll see time in a whole new light. So grab a snack, get comfy, and let's get started. Let's start with the way most of us in the Western world think about time, linearly. Time is a straight line, moving from the past through the present and into the future. It's like a conveyor belt. Once a moment passes, it's gone forever. This idea comes from ancient Greek philosophy, where thinkers like Aristotle saw time as a sequence of events. Later, Christianity reinforced this view, with its belief in a linear history moving toward a final judgment day. For us, time is money, schedules are sacred, and being late is a cardinal sin. But not everyone sees it that way. Now let's hop over to ancient Mayan culture. The Mayans had a completely different take on time. For them, time was cyclical. They believed that events repeated themselves in grand cycles, like the seasons. Their famous long count calendar tracked these cycles, and they even predicted the end of one cycle in 2012. Remember that whole end of the world hype? Spoiler, we're still here. But the Mayans weren't alone in seeing time as a circle. Many indigenous cultures like the Hopi in North America also view time as cyclical, tied to natural rhythms in the land. For the Hopi, time isn't something you can waste or save. It's something you live within, like the air you breathe. Speaking of natural rhythms, let's talk about the Maori of New Zealand. For the Maori, time isn't just about the past, present, and future. It's about what's in front of you and what's behind you. They use the word mua to describe the space in front, which represents the future, and muri for the space behind, which represents the past. But here's the twist. When they walk, they're moving into the future while still carrying the past with them. It's a beautiful way of thinking about how our history shapes where we're going. Imagine walking backward into the future. Sounds confusing, but it's a powerful metaphor for how we're always influenced by what's come before. Now let's head to India, where time takes on a more philosophical flavor. In Hinduism, time is seen as both linear and cyclical. There's the idea of kala, which is the endless flow of time, and yugas, which are massive cycles of creation and destruction. According to Hindu cosmology, we're currently in the Kali Yuga, an age of decline and chaos. But don't worry, after this, a new golden age will begin. It's a reminder that even in dark times, there's hope for renewal. This cyclical view of time is also tied to the concept of reincarnation, where souls are reborn in new bodies, carrying forward the lessons of past lives. But what about cultures where time isn't so rigidly measured? Let's go to Africa, where many societies have a more fluid concept of time. In some African cultures, time is event-based rather than clock-based. For example, instead of saying, "Meet me at 3 p.m., you might say, "Meet me after the market closes." Time is tied to what's happening in the moment, not to numbers on a clock. This can be frustrating for outsiders who are used to strict schedules, but it's a reminder that time doesn't always have to rule our lives. In these cultures, relationships and community often take precedence over punctuality, which can be a refreshing change from the hustle and bustle of modern life. And then there's Japan, where time is seen as incredibly precious. The Japanese concept of mono no aware captures the bittersweet awareness of the fleeting nature of time. It's why cherry blossoms, or sakura, are so deeply symbolic. They bloom beautifully, but only for a short while. This appreciation for the transient has shaped Japanese art, literature, and even daily life, where punctuality is a sign of respect. In Japan, being on time isn't just about efficiency, it's about honoring the value of every moment. But let's not forget the modern world, where technology has completely transformed how we experience time. With smartphones, instant messaging, and global connectivity, time feels faster than ever. We're constantly multitasking, trying to squeeze more into every second. Emails, notifications, deadlines, it's like we're racing against an invisible clock that never stops ticking. But is this really progress? Some cultures would argue that slowing down and being present is just as important as being productive. In fact, many people today are turning to practices like mindfulness and meditation to reclaim their sense of time and find balance in their lives. Think about it. When was the last time you truly unplugged and just enjoyed the moment without worrying about what's next? Now let's circle back to the idea of time as a cultural construct. The way we perceive time isn't just about clocks and calendars. It's deeply tied to our values, traditions, and ways of life. For example, in many Western societies, time is seen as a resource that can be saved, spent, or wasted. We're always chasing efficiency, trying to optimize every minute of our day. But in other parts of the world, time is viewed more holistically. In many African cultures, as we mentioned earlier, time is event-based. It's not about the clock, it's about the experience. If a gathering or ceremony runs longer than planned, that's perfectly fine because the focus is on the people and the moment, not the schedule. This approach can be a refreshing reminder that time doesn't always have to be about productivity. It can also be about connection and presence. And then there's Japan, where time is seen as incredibly precious. The Japanese concept of mono no aware captures the bittersweet awareness of the fleeting nature of time. It's why cherry blossoms, or sakura, are so deeply symbolic. They bloom beautifully, but only for a short while. This appreciation for the transient has shaped Japanese art, literature, and even daily life, where punctuality is a sign of respect. In Japan, being on time isn't just about efficiency, it's about honoring the value of every moment. This cultural emphasis on time has also led to innovations like the bullet train, which is famously punctual to the second. But it's not just about speed. It's about precision and respect for others' time. Speaking of respect for time, let's talk about how different cultures approach punctuality. In some cultures, like Germany and Switzerland, being on time is a sign of reliability and professionalism. Arriving even a few minutes late can be seen as disrespectful. But in other cultures, like Spain or parts of Latin America, time is more flexible. A meeting scheduled for 3 p.m. might not actually start until 3:30 or even 4, and that's perfectly normal. This difference can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, especially in our globalized world where people from different cultural backgrounds interact regularly. But it's also an opportunity to learn from each other and find a balance between structure and flexibility. Now let's take a step back and think about how these different perspectives on time can influence our own lives. In a world that's always rushing, what can we learn from cultures that see time as cyclical, fluid, or event-based? Maybe we can take a page from the Mayans and appreciate the cycles of life, recognizing that every ending is also a new beginning. Or perhaps we can learn from the Maori and carry our past with us as we move forward, understanding that our history shapes our future in profound ways. And from African cultures, we can embrace a more relaxed approach to time, focusing on relationships and experiences rather than rigid schedules. But it's not just about adopting new perspectives, it's also about finding a balance. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected world, it's easy to feel like we're constantly running out of time. But what if we could shift our mindset and see time as something to be savored rather than spent? What if we could find moments of stillness and presence, even in the midst of our busy lives? This is where practices like mindfulness and meditation come in. By slowing down and paying attention to the present moment, we can cultivate a deeper appreciation for the time we have. And let's not forget the role of technology in all of this. While it's true that technology has our lives faster and more efficient, it's also given us tools to manage our time in new ways. Calendar apps, productivity tools, and even mindfulness apps can help us stay organized and focused. But the key is to use these tools mindfully, rather than letting them dictate our lives. After all, time is a precious resource, and how we choose to spend it says a lot about what we value. So what can we take away from all of this? First, time isn't just a universal constant. It's a cultural construct that shapes how we live our lives. Second, there's no one right way to experience time. Whether it's linear, cyclical, or something in between, Each perspective offers valuable insights. And finally, time is what we make of it. Whether we're rushing through our days or savoring each moment, the way we experience time is ultimately up to us. At the end of the day, time is the one thing we all share. No matter where we come from or how we measure it, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. The question is, how will we use them? Will we let the clock dictate our lives, or will we find ways to make time work for us? Will we rush through our days, or will we take the time to appreciate the beauty and meaning in each moment? The choice is ours, and that's it for today's journey through the concept of time across cultures. I hope you enjoyed this trip as much as I did. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our explorations. Let me know in the comments, how do you see time? Linear, cyclical, or something else entirely? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take your time. Literally. Bye.